ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Glad to have you all back. Welcoming here, me and Ampu. And today, guys, I have a special treat for you. It's women dating over 50. We all know that this only means one thing. Actually, one of two things. First off, they are the unluckiest people on this planet right now. Because we all know these women are God's gift to the earth. They are absolutely fabulous in every aspect. So, done. How are they single at 50? Well, that's what I tell you guys. They're the unluckiest people on earth. They just never seem to find that Prince Charming. It's either that or imagine how good they are. You know, like we're talking, guys, 11 out of 10. They are so good that it took them 50 years and they still haven't met a man who can meet them halfway, you know, mirror their energy. They are that good, gentlemen, these women. So let's take a look into which group this woman falls into. And then for a Reddit story, a woman breaks up with a guy because he was, quote unquote, emotional and enthusiastic. So we'll take a look at that. But now, let's start the video, gentlemen.
All right, story time, dating over 50. I went out on a first date. I'm going to tell you why I will absolutely not be going out on the second date. And it has something to do with what he told me his therapist said. So I'm going to tell you that at the end of the video, along with the lesson that I learned from this date, because I believe everybody that comes into our lives, it's either love or it's a lesson. So I matched with this guy on the Facebook dating app, which, by the way, if you haven't tried the Facebook dating app, I think it's definitely the best one. I tried Bumble, I tried Hinge, and the Facebook dating app I'm having the best luck with, and so was he. He told me the same thing. So from
Well, that's what we all want in a wife, isn't it? That's what we want in a woman. Someone who comes to us and tells us, I've tried Tinder and Facebook dating and Bumble and Mumble and Humble and Dumble, and I've tried all of these. Went on hundreds of lessons, as she calls them, and I'm still single. You know, it gives sort of a reassurance, you know, it gives some sort of comfortableness and stability, you know? Absolutely, guys.
From a guy's perspective, if you're a guy listening to my video, give the Facebook dating app a try as well. But basically, we're having good conversation. Like, he was, you know, attractive, seemed very intelligent, had a great career. We just met at this bar and had a drink. And basically, he proceeded to tell me that.
Notice how these women, whenever they start saying the good things about a guy, they always, guys, and I mean always start. Holy shit. There they go again, guys. All the women texting me, wanting to meet up with me. Ladies, please leave me alone. But going back to my point, they always start with attractiveness. Always, guys. Like, they never say, she said, oh, we had a nice conversation, he was attractive, and then proceeds to say how much money he makes and that he is intelligent. Alright? So just take a look at what they're interested in.
He was like, well, I know I don't know you that well, but when I had therapy with my ex-wife, and at first I was like, oh, that's good, like, he's getting therapy, that's amazing. He was like, the therapist told her that I was being abusive, and so she basically told me she was done. He was like, but I begged her to get another therapist and she wouldn't do it. And so he was sort of claiming that the therapist was wrong and that maybe he wasn't abusive. He really never came out and said that, though. But here's the deal. Knowing myself, so here's the lesson that I learned. Basically, at that very moment, I was like, oh, you know what? We actually had already had dinner. We already had one drink. I got my phone out. I was like, oh, I need to go let my puppy home. I called an Uber right away, and I was out of there. The reason is I'm not willing to risk the fact that maybe if that therapist was right, you know, like, and I kind of think she probably was, like, I'm going to believe the therapist over him, right? But even if she was wrong, like, I'm not willing to take that risk because of my past, because I have been in 2 toxic marriages, because I have been in a few, like, unhealthy, toxic relationships. Like, no, I am not willing to take that chance, right? I'm not saying that, you know, that every relationship is going to be perfect. I realize there are challenges, and that's part of being in a relationship, is overcoming those challenges. But if it is abusive, it is not okay, and that is a no. And ladies, there is different types of abuse. There's verbal.
Yes, there are different types, and all of them except one are nonsense, alright? Abusive, guys, oh, he was beating his ex-wife. He was just throwing her all around the house. No, guys, that's what abusive used to mean in the past. What it means nowadays is any sort of nonsense that slightly may result in discomfort in the woman, all right? So if she wants to go out clubbing with a group of male friends at 4 a.m. in the morning and you say no, you are being abusive. It's one of these words that is thrown out left, right, and center and has lost all meaning to it. Like, I no longer respect this word. I no longer, when people say abusive, it's like white noise for me because it has lost all meaning whatsoever. It could be anything ranging from you stepping on her little toe to you throwing her all around the house, all right? That's what abusive means. In that umbrella, all right? in that range, it could be anything. So don't care at all. Also, if you go to a therapist, probably something's gonna come out, right? Like, if you go to a therapist, nobody's gonna go and for a therapist to tell him, oh, you know what? You're actually my first client who there's nothing wrong with you. You're perfect, my dude. No, you're always gonna go and they're gonna tell you that, well, there's this certain bad aspect, you know, maybe you are abusive, maybe you have self-centered tendencies, maybe this, maybe that. If this woman goes, probably the therapist will have to write a 15-page essay to mention all the red flags. Oh, but no, he went to the therapist and there was this one thing that the therapist told him, and now all women are fleeing, you know? Like he was prescribed having a very contagious and infectious disease. Cringe.
Abuse, there was emotional abuse. Somebody doesn't have to hit you in the face in order to be abused. So just know that, because I think that's a very important thing that we as women and men need to know for sure. So long story short, I will not be going out with this guy again. He did.
Just a word of advice, guys. If any woman, you're interested in a woman, you're going out with her, you're going on a date or something, if at whatever point in the early stages of the relationship she calls you abusive or toxic, I want you to turn your back around and leave her and never speak to her again, all right? Because she has a victim mentality. Now, it's different if your wife of 20 years tells you this, because then there's some merit to it, all right? Then you want to listen to her and let her know what she thinks. But if these girlies, right, guys, that you're going on a couple of dates and she already starts with, oh, you're being toxic, you're being abusive, you're being controlling and manipulative, any of those trigger words that they use, guys, just leave them behind. They're not worth it. It's victim mentality, right? Everything that doesn't, you know, necessarily, that isn't necessarily in line with what they think, they're gonna find a nice word for it, all right? So they're constantly throwing out these words: manipulative, abusive, toxic, controlling, all those words. They're not worth your time, gentlemen. But what do you think?
He did text me when I got home. He texted me the next morning, but he hasn't asked me out on a second date. And I think it's because he could read my energy, because my energy was saying like, no, I don't want to go out with you again. And before I get off, I wanted to share my lip color. This is by Thrive. It's like a really beautiful coral lip color.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck about that. So we're gonna move on to our next TikTok, guys. We're gonna leave this woman here to continue putting on lipstick until the day she tragically leaves us, right? Is no longer with us, because that's her future, that's her fate, guys. Just dismissing guys left, right, and center. I like how she didn't even give this man a try. Like, oh no, this one therapist probably years ago said this one bad aspect of you, so I leave, without no further questions asked, no nothing. You know, madam, you're in your 50s. This was your last train. Now you have to settle for having 7 cats that will eat you when you're no longer with us. That's what's gonna happen. You could have tried at least, damn it. But well, she chose this fate, as we all know. So gentlemen, let's move on to our next one.
This is how you're going to make that man crazy about you. You know that the most sensitive part of any man is his ego. And everything a man does, every decision he makes, is literally with the goal to inflate his ego. Because a man with an inflated ego is a happy man. And you know what, man?
So it's at this point that we realize that this woman fell off the bed when she was young. Tragically, guys, dramatically. She fell, hit her head, and is no longer within reason. Because men, nothing to do with ego. Nothing, guys, like nothing to do with ego. There are both men and women that are, you know, ego driven, and there's nothing particularly manly about ego. All right, but what she refers by ego, guys, is that thing that women push us to do, you know, because if you're a man that has no self-esteem, no competitiveness, if you don't want to strive and to win and to compete and all that, you don't want to dominate, the women are not gonna, guys, they're not gonna glimpse in your direction. All right, their eyeballs are not gonna be in the same time zone than you. That's what's going to happen if you're not what they then later go on to say, an ego-driven man. So you notice here, there's no winning with these women, because if you don't strive to compete and all that, you're not manly enough, they don't like you, you're absolute crap for them, they feel more attracted to a rock than to you. But if you are this type of man, you know, if you say, hey, women kind of force me to be this way, because as a man, if I don't win, I don't achieve anything. So then when you go and do that, when you aim to win and all that, they say, oh, look at his massive ego. What a massive ego, just that's all he cares about. No, you stupid little moron. Like, that's how the world works. And we as men are not going to reach anything if we don't strive for that. It's not ego, it has nothing to do with this sort of toxic ego. It's just male competitiveness. It's how it goes. It's how the world forces us to be, and you in that number as well. So stop complaining about the things you dictate.
Men want from women, and they hardly ever get it. They want to receive compliments. We are used to have expectations from men because men are fixers, they are doers. But it's hard for us to compliment a man before he has done anything. And because we are such multitaskers, even if he brings you a coffee in bed, it seems like too little to compliment him for. But if you can just snap out of that and understand that every man needs to feel appreciated for him in order to be able to love you, then you are making your life way simpler just by starting to compliment him for the things that he does for you. But that is not all. What's even smarter to do, what will make him crazy about you, is if you're with a group of friends or family, you start to brag to them about him. You tell them how amazing he is because he washes your car every Friday. I don't care what you tell them, as long as it inflates his ego. I'm telling you, when he hears that you tell other people how proud you are of him, he will feel so good about himself that it will make him more crazy about you, because now third parties know how amazing he is, and that is all because of you.
Well, you heard it here first, gentlemen. Men also like to feel appreciated. It's crazy, guys. Most of you don't know. I know, guys, I know. Time to abandon ship. Continuing with my General Grievous quotes. Guys, men also like to feel loved. It's crazy, guys. We are also people. Yes, we are humans. We are people. We've reached a point in society where we need a quote-unquote dating coach to teach this to women. And there are women in the comments like, oh, wow, what a life hack. Yeah, what a life hack to, for a change, appreciate your husband. But it's a good advice, honestly. It's a good advice. It's one of those things that is the bare minimum and is like the last string holding men and women together. You know, that they're making this like little bare minimal effort to at least please a man, right? So fantastic about that. She didn't have to start the whole video and ruin it by saying that men are ego driven, because again, it's like 5 seconds after that, guys, she mentions how women want men who are fixers and do things. That's what I'm talking about. Like, you wouldn't pay us attention if we're not fixing things, winning things, competing, defending, protecting, and all that. If we're not competitive, and if we are not above the rest. Like, you, especially women, you go for the top 20% of men in today's society, but then also we must not be ego driven, right? So how does that work? How do you at the same time stay in the top 20%, but not being like competitive, you know, like, don't be so ego driven, come on. You have to do it, guys. You have to be in the top 20% without even trying, you know. It's like, don't care, I just beat this guy and protected you. I wasn't even trying, you know. You have to be like that to not be ego driven. But gentlemen, enough about this bullcrap. Let's move on to our article story, which again is really telling. I love these articles, guys. Do you like them? But the title is, girlfriend 30 told me 25 that my enthusiasm plus vulnerability makes her feel she has less space to feel feminine. Is this something that is fixable in time, or do I reconsider the relationship? So again, guys, you heard it here first. Crazy news, a woman didn't like it when a man opened up and shared his feelings and became vulnerable. Wow, it's the first time I'm hearing this, guys. I am of the belief that you should always open up to women and always tell them how you feel each time you feel something. And they tell us, right? They tell us, oh, I like a man who's in touch with his emotional side. So I don't know, guys, is this story true? Is it true that women don't like it when men open up? I don't know, let's find out. I've been together for 2 months and last night she felt conflicted as if wanting to tell me something. She asked me if I feel that she's disconnected from me, to which I responded yes, because usually she draws closer to me and kisses me more. She tells me she's not sure if she should tell me this because I might not be able to do anything. Still, I told her she should get it out of her system if she feels like it. She then proceeded to tell me that she feels that my enthusiasm for the relationship is greater than hers and my emotionality / me showing vulnerability makes her feel that she has less space for her to pursue me as a woman. So you would think, right, guys, that if you were to tell women, do you want a boyfriend who is infatuated with you, who cannot stop thinking about you all day, they will say something like, oh, that is so romantic, that is all I've ever wished for. But it's not the case. At least in most of these instances, it's really not the case. There's a reason why women date up. It's because they want their men to be better than them, more attractive, more intelligent, stronger, of course. That's why they want men who are taller. They just want men who are better than them. She wants to be the one who pursues me and not the other way around, because it lets her feel more in tune with her femininity. Seeing me express vulnerability or enthusiasm so often makes her feel unsafe. As a bit of a background, this is for me my first relationship and she knows it. And I had some moments in which very emotional discussions, for example, loneliness in my life, brought me to tears, but I was not sobbing. Okay, so particularly, guys, I don't have a problem with that. I think that there's a clear difference between crying and something bringing you to tears if you're on the more emotional side. Like Andrew Tate says in that interview with Piers Morgan, I wasn't crying, there were just tears running down my face, alright? So it checks out. But mistake, again, guys. This is the world we live in. Please don't think that women like it when you share your feelings with them. There is exactly one woman on this planet that cares about your feelings, and that is your mother, right? She's the only one who won't get the ick if you start crying with her, all right? At least I hope. haven't checked this, haven't experienced it, you know? I haven't done this experiment myself, of course, because I'm red pill and don't have a mother. So you let me know, guys. But women, they don't want to hear your feelings. They don't want you getting into tears. Guys, don't listen to them. They'll say they'll do. It's a trap. It's always a trap. I have to find that gif of General Akbar saying that it's a trap. It's a trap, guys. Don't do it. All right. I've never seen a situation where that has worked out good for the guy. All right. If you've ever been in one, please mention for all the rest of us. So at least we know that there are exceptions. But I'm still yet to see it. I continue. I am sometimes more enthusiastic for us to do stuff, but I'm not by any means smothering her. For me, it felt great I was able to be vulnerable, but it seems she doesn't feel safe with me being that much invested. Also, I don't think it's a type, she's just not into you situation, since she told me multiple times things she finds hot and attractive about me. That moment, how I handled it, I felt very hurt, as I felt this is something I won't be able to change that much. I told her, I reminded her that this was very new to me and that in time I'm sure my feelings will balance out as I become more accustomed to the relationship. I told her I might not be able to fix my enthusiasm and I feel that would make me feel fake. Yeah, because when you're a more emotional guy, and probably the reason why I say it is because I am, so I understand it. Again, not emotional as in I watch a movie and I start crying. No, I'm just more, more stronger feelings, which is probably also why I get so... emotionally invested in the channel and angry sometimes. But if you're a guy that is just more emotional, yeah, there's no way to fixing this. Like, you either have to be fake or you have to be emotional. So with women, you cannot be both. And the way out is stoicism, right? Just control your emotions, control your feelings. You will still have them because you're emotional. You will just not allow them to control you. And that's not being fake because you're not acting, you're not trying to fake something that isn't real. No, if you really grasp and you really, you know, get a hold of your feelings, there's nothing fake in that. So this is why men just have to be stoic. Life forces them to be that way. And then women go on to say, oh no, it's actually men who push this narrative that men should never cry and it's so toxic, the patriarchy. No, it's women. It's women, the world. It's always been that, right? If you go to your bro and you start crying, there's probably no bad repercussions are going to happen. Of course, if you're not crying about some bullcrap, in which case your bro is going to make fun of you for the rest of your life. But if it's something serious, he'll understand you. With women, guys, again, it's not the same. Your mother can pass away. If you put that burden on your woman, she's not going to like it. And look, I'm not saying that you can, if your mother passes away, you cannot mention that to your wife. No, I'm saying that as a man, it's your duty to carry your own burden. And if you totally place the whole burden on the woman, she's not gonna like that. I continue now. Leave me your thoughts down below. So I felt it's not something I can easily change, but that I will try to rein in my emotional needs so that I'm not smothering her with them. Right now, I feel like I can't really connect back with her unless we solve this. We did have S3X after the discussion above, and it felt great, but I felt uneasy the entire time. Looking back, she told me something 2 weeks ago that feels similar. Something about how she feels like I was more involved and that she doesn't want to hurt me. And that I need to keep my head, be realistic in our relationship because she depends on me. We also had an emotional moment, we cried together. Not good. We talked and supported each other. She can do that with her girlies, alright? She can go to have tea with her girlies and talk about making sandwiches or whatever women talk about when they're together. And they can cry all together. You're not there to cry with her. Damn. It felt very good in that moment. I felt that I needed to level up my game because she depends on me. Right now I feel emotionally hurt. I do like her very much. She might want a strong man that has all his things figured out and that she can idealize. Hey, that's what women want. But I'm not that type. Well, you have to become if you want to deal with women. Sorry, that's how the game is played. You can try and find a woman that wants to be like your little psychologist and that wants to be very emotional with you and hold hands and cry, and you can become her gay best friend, alright? But if you want to date for real, stoicism is the way. I told her before, my strength does not come from my masculinity, even though I have that too. My strength comes from me caring, from my caring, side and my creativity, which by all means and purposes, I view it as my feminine side. Again, guys, just to be clear, I don't think there's nothing wrong with men. Damn, excuse me, guys. This story is so long, I can't go through it, but it's important. So, there's nothing wrong with men being more, you know, leaning towards their feminine side. There are men come in all shapes and sizes, and if you are still a man and you do what you have to do, there's nothing wrong with being more in touch with your creativity or your caring side. But it's the more you are like this, the harder it will be for you to date, right? The more emotional you are, the harder it will be. Think of it as like women who are tall. The taller a woman is, the harder it will be for her to date, because then she wants a man who is taller than her, thus limiting her options. Or a woman who is more masculine will find it harder to date. She also has this thing where she's afraid of building muscle because she's afraid to be masculine, because she tried that in the past and it didn't go well for her. But you see, it's just the more masculine you are as a woman, the less options you have, and vice versa. My guess is that she's viewing masculine and feminine as these very separate entities, which they are, where for me, I see the lines blurred. You're starting to sound more and more like a woman. I'm actually starting to question if you really are a man. There is also the age gap, which amplifies these feelings of unsafeness. I have two options. Go forward hoping that things turn out fine and I get more accustomed to her and her to me, and that the issue is not really an issue but an unrealistic ideal she has that will fade away in time. There's nothing unrealistic about wanting a manly man, right? Tell her straight I won't be that guy that she wants and ask her to rethink if she wants this relationship. I still like her very much, which is why this is a hard thing to choose. So edit, I'm pretty sure I want option B. I'm not sure how to tell her. Should I FaceTime her or should we meet? Just meet, bro. Why are you gonna FaceTime? Jeez. You're gonna discuss something important with a woman you quote-unquote really like. Really like very much, and you're gonna discuss it over FaceTime? Jeez. Guys, well, we'll leave the article story here. What do you think about this whole emotional stuff, gentlemen? You already know my opinion, but again, men, you're allowed to have emotions, but you have to limit them very much. You have to be in control of your emotions. And if you have a woman, she must always feel like you are in control. And you can keep it together, and you can be cold-blooded when the situation requires it. That's what a man is. A man is someone who does what he has to do, emotions aside. Women are allowed to be in their emotions, men are not. Women are allowed for emotions to rule their life, men are not. Right? So man up, guys. If you're emotional, I am a more emotional guy, and I try to do this myself, and it's hard, especially when you are spontaneous or impulsive, things like this. But you just have to. That's what life requires out of you. So what has been your experience on the emotional side, guys? Are you more emotional, or are you the equivalent of a rock when it comes to emotions? Let me know your struggles down below. I'll read them all, and I'll see you next time, guys. Have a good one.